Dr. William Barclay hinted upon something that day during an ill-received conference on global warming, something that changed 9-year-old Jake Watkins forever. Dr. Barclay hinted on the demise of the world as we know it. Whether it was coincidental prophecy or fact-based knowledge of what was to come, he painted a grim image of a world at war, not for personal gain or religious difference, but of survival against not only man but the remaining living creatures that had adapted, some in horrific ways, to survive the apocalyptic wasteland mankind had created. Dr. Barclay spoke not of genetic mutation, but that of adaptation, accelerated to combat the deteriorating atmosphere. Oceans had become acidic. Millions of plant and animal species had died off, driven to extinction by the hands of men who thought more of personal wealth and public stature and power than that of effecting positive change in order to preserve the human race. The scientific community shunned his advice, laughed at his prophecy, and dismissed him as nothing more than a New Age quack, more interested in lining his own pockets by making insane accusations and delivering carefully plotted scare tactics than actually applying true science to effect a real-world plan of action. Barclay proclaimed that Judgment Day would come 50 years from the day of his last speech. The world laughed, until the prophecy became reality, much sooner than expected. The first sign of the apocalypse surfaced a mere 2 years later. Intense climate change swept across the planet's surface, causing catastrophic weather anomalies that laid waste to most of the Earth. 70% of the world population had been wiped out within 6 months. Of those 70%, those fortunate enough to have survived the widespread famine and disease met a quick end as they were picked off, one by one, by the remnants of a once lushly populated animal kingdom, now evolved for a singular purpose: survival at all cost. The last remaining survivors of the human race were forced into 9 colonies dispersed throughout the planet's surface. Housed in heavily armored, fortified strongholds, the remnants of men and women now struggle to survive, waging constant war to protect the elders, a select few that may be capable of reversing the damage. Jake Watkins knew there was a way, but the elders are missing the key. That is, if he survived the apocalypse. OTHERWORLD. Created by S.W. Salzman and Roy A. Gonzales. Performed by S.W. Salzman. New York City, 2035. It had been 6 years since the end. The once bustling cityscape sat in ruin. The Big Apple had gone sour and rotted. Gone was the glitz and glamour. Gone were the roaring engines and honking horns of pissed-off commuters that cared more about getting to work on time than the well-being of their fellow men, women, and even children. In their place stood buildings of a bygone time, reduced by a harsh, unforgiving climate to ruin. Cracked, weather-beaten brick and stone and mortar, once angular and pristine, now half hidden behind tendrils of overgrown vegetation. It was supposed to be a cure-all, from cancer to HIV to Ebola. What it did was destroy the earth. The animals that were used, they were crossbred with other animals. Super animals, they were called. Well, they were to be used for genetic experimentation, but something went wrong, way wrong. The earth rumbled. Stones in the crumbled streets danced as the rhythmic pounding grew in a steady crescendo. Then it appeared, a barreling locomotive of brute force. Thick fur covered its body and most of its head, except for the 2-foot horn that adorned the tip of its snout, a rhinoceros for lack of a better description. But this was different. The lumbering bulk was gone, replaced with a sleek, muscular body much like a horse, a draft horse. The thing snorted as it lowered its horn and thrust its head to the right as it slammed into the burned-out shell of a car and effectively sent the wreckage onto the sidewalk. The thing didn't even slow down. 2,000 pounds of beast raged on at speeds which topped more than 30 miles per hour. an unstoppable behemoth. Dr. William Barclay, a brilliant geneticist, was in charge of the project. The experiments took a turn no one had expected. The animals began to evolve at a rate far more rapid than ever thought possible. Barclay knew the experiments were far too dangerous to continue, but it was too late. The doctor had the means to reverse the process, but Mother Nature had other ideas. She wanted the world to go on. Man wasn't part of that equation, though. We had our chance. We didn't cherish and respect our home or the millions of other species we shared it with. We had to atone for our mistakes, and Mother Nature came knocking at our door. It was our time to pay up, and pay we did. 8.3 billion people reduced to a little more than 250 million in less than 6 months. Disease, famine, and harsh climate change, along with these new highly evolved and mutated animal species, punched our ticket. My name is Jake Watkins. I live among one of the 9 colonies spanning the entire planet. We fight for our very lives each and every day, as we desperately search for the one thing that can erase the horrible damage we have done. Dr. Barclay. We have to find a way to make it out of this harsh new world. The other world.